Hi guys, my name is Amanda Fletcher and I am behind the camera today, not in front of it. So I want to give you 3 explanations real quick. One, all material was tried to use either from the book or at home. I spent $20 going to the local Dollar Tree to grab materials, and then I came back home because of the situation with COVID-19. I try not to stay out too much, and if I do go out, I try to stay in a car. 2, I do have dogs. They will bark. I will stop the video and pick it up. So if it's not exactly where the picture was before, that is what happened. 3, you may hear a muffled fan. I am currently in summer like everybody else, and it's hot, and so there's going to be a fan on. So I will try to talk loud to muffle the sound of the fan. So let us begin. This is the final week project adapted book, and I chose to do my book on The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. Now the reason I chose this book is for 3 reasons. 1, it's easy to modify, it's got gorgeous visuals, and 3, it still has some complexity for it to still be a simple moral book. When I talk about complexity, I'm talking about the complex sentences that it has. It goes from small, simple sentence structures to paragraphs with 3 sentences, so it allows for adaptability within your students. If you have a student who's more of an advanced reader, you can allow them to read the paragraph. If you have some who are still learning as we go, there are little small sections of sentences on certain pages that could be for them alone. Again, I added this picture to illustrate what the book's about, so the students can kind of already start assuming and foreshadowing it's going to be a snowy day with a little boy. Now for handles, I'll bring your attention here. It is blue ribbon, so it doesn't take away from the picture or distract, and I kept it small, but it is capable of helping with mobility needs. Now the first thing that you will come across is sight words. I used 6 sight words. I didn't want to do the traditional, here's a page of all your sight words on it. I wanted it to be adaptable and reusable in many different situations. This sheet was made with construction paper and lamination paper. And it is removable. All items are removable. That way, if students, like the module said, became distracted with this, you could pull it out and put it somewhere else. Now, to the sight words, so that you can get that, I use mountain climber, or person who climbs mountain, adventure, an exciting experience, seeing places or things, heap, a pile or mount of something, thoughts and images, that's obviously dream. Now, I have a secret storage, where in case your student becomes too overwhelmed with too many pieces, you can put that back here to kind of de-distract your area. The next one is snowsuit, a 1 or 2 piece cover all suit made for children, and firm. I use the decal of a rock because those are tough, solid structures. Now again, this piece can be moved. I use the pink because it's still a happy and relaxing color without being too exciting for the students or too distracting. Now, I put this first because I wanted it to be able to start teaching and giving the students a little insight before we start moving on to the story itself. Now to the title cover. Now the module that we had basically showed basically putting like a border around the author and the title to allow for students to understand these are important details. So this is again the author, Ezra Jack Keats, and this is The Snowy Day, which is the title. Now I used pink again because it matched very well, so it wouldn't take away too much from the colors and the background illustration, but it made it pop enough that the students can see what's going on. Again, a handle on each page, and each page is laminated. Now, I made sure before we go any further, students understand my symbols. I've used 3 consistent symbols. The googly eyes, which are 4 sight words. This will alert the student to continue to look for sight words. They will be on the page where the student can see them. Next is X marks the spot for beginning of the sentence. I wanted to keep it structured, and for most students, they have went through a phase of wanting to be a pirate. So many students should understand X marks the spot. And I picked up a habit from one of my old teachers. She never used stop signs or other different details. She wanted to keep as traditional markings in reading adaptations as possible, and she would just make the period bigger to illustrate stop. Again, giving them as much hands-on experience as they can. So again, it's a period just enlarged for visual cues for end of the sentence. Again, I even used a period to structure that. Again, I wanted to use and to remind students before we're reading The Snowy Day, and I put snowflakes here. Again, I can question, what do you think it's going to be about? What setting do you think? What item do you think? Snow. Again, referencing the title. Now, the first page is where we discover Peter is waking up and he has discovered that it has snowed outside. I used cotton balls and I stretched it out to give the snow effect. Again, if you feel a cotton ball, it is textural, similar to snow without being cold, and 2, it has that white feel that it needs. Now, for his sleepwear, I did adapt it. The reason I adapted it became a little too overwhelming along with this pattern. It was this pattern in a bright yellow. So instead of having pattern on pattern to distract the students from engaging in reading, I went ahead and just associated him with the color red, which you will see him throughout the book associated with his snow coat, snowsuit, and I just used red felt and glitter paper for his pants to break up the shirt and pants. Now here's a closer look of a paragraph. I'll try to get that glare out for you. There you go. Again, here's a paragraph to kind of show the complexity of the reading level. I used X to mark the beginnings of each sentence, and I used periods to mark the end. Now, while I was doing this project, I did discover that I cannot always adapt it like I originally planned, so I had to use a permanent marker and a painty pen that I had to still label as we went. Now again, things can be changed as we go. I made sure that everything can be adapted still. Now here's where I began to use pipe cleaner, white pipe cleaner, because if you notice, it goes from dull to really bright, and I didn't want the transition to overwhelm certain students. So I went from dark to a more dull white to a bright white. Again, I used red felt for his snowsuit. I will be calling it a jumpsuit. It's just something I do. And then I use cotton for snow. Here is a very special page because it has our googly eyes. So I can show you one of the reading tools that I was introduced to. Now this is a cheap Dollar Tree item. You can get like 10 of these, and they assist with keeping the student focused when it comes to reading and helping to direct. Now, as you see, it highlights very well, and it covers up some of the sentences so they don't be overwhelmed with too many words. Now, if you look in that first sentence, about right here where my finger is adapting, you'll see snowsuit. That is our first word that our students are going to have to point out, and then I may question them. I may take them back to the other page or bring the page to this page so that students can say, okay, this is what a snowsuit is, this is what the definition is, and again they can point to him to illustrate what a snowsuit is. Now again, as you see, I use cotton for snow, pipe cleaner to break up the color, but I began to use blue glitter to help with illustrating some of the harder to see spots. Now here it talks about crunch, 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 his feet sinked into the snow. I wanted to give the students a visual cue, chance to see and feel that's his steps. So I used the blue glitter, just a dot, to give that visual cue and touch. As you see, it continues on, and I use red felt, and I use some glitter up here to kind of help give that a little bit more shimmer. The yellow and green shows beautifully there. Now on the next page. Now again, here's a really good example of the background and needing a transition. Without this part here, it went from like a very dark color to the white being too bright. So this is why I used it. It seemed to dull it down quite a bit. Again, I X marks the spot, dot ends it, and here again you can see just a regular sentence. So it goes from paragraphs at times to sentence structures to just one sentence popping. So it's got a good complexity of sentence building. I used, again, blue glitter to guide students along the way, and this brings us to our first item. To give students the chance to experience what the Peter, our main character, is doing, I used, let's make it a little bit more pretty here, I used shaving cream in a bag to let them kind of drag their hand across, kind of get that same reading engagement. He's just walking along, kind of let them draw in it, to still kind of get that learning experience. Now this item will come back on the next page. Now as we flip on, you'll discover on the last page, the track he began a new one because he found something else and he began a new track with it. And it turned out to be a stick. Now I didn't want to give the students a large stick. I'll give you a visual of both the pages. And here's the item again. So I found a small stick and it's very soft. It came from our firewood, so it was dried out. But students can drag the stick along. They can poke at snow, kind of giving, again, illustration, a more in-depth feeling and understanding for the students. So they can poke at the snow, they can drag their stick along. This way, you know, it's a soft item in case you have it. Well, let's just say it's very soft, and all items can be replaced easily. Now again, I use cotton for the background. Now for these two pages here, this was the whole background. So to give more of a visual aid and break the page apart, I went ahead and used cotton to kind of illustrate snow at the bottom so that students understand here's the snow. Now originally I believe that this was all supposed to be illustrated as snow, so to kind of just give it a little bit more understanding for the student, I went ahead and put snow around the edges while still making sure that it was clear of the text. Again, the pipe cleaner can easily be replaced and it will be hot glued down eventually. I actually used double-sided tape on this project and it's worked really good holding that down, where super glue did not hold pipe cleaners. So on these pages, as you can see, I used pom-poms for the snowballs. Right now our character is in a big boy snowball fight. So to kind of illustrate, I gave these pom-poms, and some of them have this glittering effect to draw the attention to the round snowball. Again, you can see that it has more complex sentence, and again, just pom-poms and pipe cleaners were to, again, break up the dark from the bright transition, and the pom-poms to illustrate the snowballs. Now, I have to hold on, because I was really happy I found this last year, and I was really happy that it could go along with the story. I have 2 snowballs. Now Arkansas doesn't really get snowballs, and these are cool little items that can help with this. These are snowballs, and basically they're cotton just put all together, and they're really structured. So you could pause it here, allow your student to play and throw the ball around just to kind of give them. So item number 3 was snowballs, to allow the students to have that kind of similar to what he's experienced. Now moving on to the story, again, let you see it visually. Now on this page, as you can see on the first page, again broke it up from the bright yellow and orange and dark brown to the bright white using pipe cleaners. I used a decal. This is just a window decal that it sticks very well, and the front of it has a plastic covering on it, so it does not come off when it comes on this side. Again, use cotton on all the rooftops to illustrate the snow. Here he is making a snowman. Now the reason I used this and adapted, as you can see the outline of his snowman, I didn't think some students would understand that that was his version of a snowman. Realistically, that would be my snowman. So I used a traditional picture to kind of illustrate he made a smiling snowman. Now over here he ends up making 2 snow angels. To illustrate that he did this, I gave the visual cue of using and outlining blue glitter again to allow the student to have an ability to trace over it. And again, red felt for his clothing. And here's an example of it being easy to break these sentences apart. If you have a reader that's just beginning, this will help be perfect for them to read. So he made a smiling snowman, period, begin again, and he made angels. Easy book to adapt with sentence structures. Now this was a more detailed structure page, give you a visual cue. Now again, I broke up with pipe cleaner. I did not use red felt because in the background, as you can see, give you a closer look, these are cotton. Now in this book, on this page, again, sight word alert, he is pretending to be a mountain climber and he is climbing on a heaping tall mountain of snow. I think the illustrator was trying to give the effect of wind blowing snow. So what I did was stretch my cotton ball even more, and I gave it a filling and texture. Some parts can be rougher, some parts can be smooth. So it gives it that windy look. And he slides down. Again, just pipe cleaner and cotton in the background. Now here's another sight word alert, and that, my friend, is firm. This, again, it shows the structure of how this book goes from sentence to breaking sentences apart to doing paragraphs. So this is, again, an example of why I chose this book, because it gives good complexity and versatility in reading levels. Again, like I said, point out both pages have a sight word students can easily see, and the sight words are right here in firm. I want them to start building research skills, and by learning to look for their words, this will help to promote that. Now again, on this page I used cotton for the background, and then I used a pom-pom for a snowball. Now here is construction paper. It did turn out really well, and the mom had a pattern dress very similar to his earlier version of sleepwear. But again, I didn't want that pattern to be distracting, so I just covered it up with white construction paper, and I kept him associated with red for clothing. Finally, he is taking a bath. Now this was one of my funnest little projects I did. I figured out that I could use bubble wrap for bubbles, so the students can kind of get that bubbly feeling to illustrate he's taking a bath and getting all clean. I used construction paper to help outline the bathtub, and again, bubble wrap to kind of illustrate bubble effect. Now here I didn't do much. I just wanted to keep his sleepwear very consistent through the story. I used glitter paper for the bottom, and for the shirt I used felt. Again, another paragraph to show the complexity, but very short sentences. He felt very sad. The snow wasn't there. He discovers his little snowball he put in his pocket had melted. Now in this part, to kind of associate, I need to go back because I forgot to bring up one of my items. And I had a teacher that taught me a cool little effect with snow. And that is, you can use flour, cornstarch, or kind of that textural fill, or baking soda. And she said put it with shaving cream, and she said this will give your students the idea of being able to structurally kind of get an idea of how he's making a snowman. So again, I put it in a bag just to kind of keep it from being too messy. You could bring it out, but again, it kind of makes that doughy filling. Now I use cornstarch and shaving cream. I actually would advise to use baking soda and shaving cream because it keeps more of a white coloration, and it has a better texture. Now again, this turned out well with what I had available, but again, a useful thing to kind of have that texture feel of putting and compacting a snowball together. So back to where we were. Again, I didn't want to do too much on this page because I wanted to keep it simple. I used felt for his shirt and red glitter pants. Now for the sun, I gave it some, as you can see, glitter to kind of illustrate where it was the sun, and I put a orange construction paper in the middle to kind of make it pop. It was just like a dull yellow, so I wanted to give it more visual cue. Here I gave the effect of melting snow. As you can probably see in a few areas, this spot is the best. I gave it gray glitter to kind of show droplets. Again, that's cotton balls. And again, pointing out sentence, just normal sentence. This book is really good about its sentence building. Here, again, he had a dream. Forgot our sight word on the other one. He had a nightmare, actually. He had a dream, sight word alert here, that the snow had melted. Now on this page here, again, decal stickers to illustrate that it is snowing, to kind of give the students a feel, cotton for the snow around the window, and I put a little glitter here to kind of help give it a visual appealing look. Again, short sentences, and alert to sight word. Again, I think I've said that 3 times, for dream. Now on this page, I kept it very simple. I didn't want to overdo it. It was the end of the book, so I made sure to illustrate the end. Again, it was a paragraph, a very longer sentence, so again, it can be broken up or modified as needed for the student. Now for these pages, you can kind of see on this one, I gave it a glittering effect. You run your hand across it, and it gives you a glitter texture. And I use piping again to kind of close off the dark to the bright transition. So that was our story. Again, I used handles. Now on to our sentences. Now, not sentences, but our questions. Now for the first question, I wanted to keep it simple. Who are the characters in the book? Now this is a recall question. This would be one that you could ask after you meet Peter's family, mom, or you can even ask at the end of the book, where I actually have all the questions just to kind of keep everything together when I'm illustrating. This is Peter's mom, and him are the main characters, are the only characters we meet other than the boys who we never get to engage with, and his friend who we never get to engage with. So again, simple, Velcro, file, the material used was a file, construction paper, and laminated everything. Question number 2. Put the story settings in order from beginning to end. Now I did a chronological question because I wanted to test the students. Now this question can be adapted depending on what you need. You can take away some of these items. Some students can become overwhelmed with having too many choices. Some do fine with having 5. So again, it's a very adaptable question, but I want it to kind of be a little bit complex with questions and give a more difficult question. So he was at his home at the beginning. He was in his bedroom specifically. Actually, I have this out of order. So he was in his bedroom at the beginning. Then we see him go outside. Then he goes back home. He takes a bath, and he goes back outside with his friend the next day. My third question is, what do you think Peter will do on the second snowy day? Now, again, another recall question, but did he stay inside? I don't think so. He went to play with his friend. Now, again, I used, if you'll notice, realistic pictures along with illustrations. The reason I used realistic ones is, one, because they were better quality than some of the drawing pictures that I found. So I kind of gave it a more complexity depending on if you have multiple learning levels of students learning. My fourth question is, Peter's feet made 2 tracks in the snow. What made the 3rd track? Now, again, just kind of a recall question, but to kind of quiz the students. Did he have a cat in the story? No. He had a stick. This is an area where you can bring up the stick. Have it placed close. If you need a little prompting, this will help guide the students in understanding that, again, it was a stick. And for my final question, we'll lay out the book here so you can see it better. Pick the 2 things that Peter made in the snow. Now again, this question can be broken up and shown 2 items to kind of get the full question answer. He did not build a rocket ship. He built a snowman and snow angel. Again, I used realistic versus traditional pictures because I still wanted a snow angel, not just your angel. I did not want to confuse that fact. Very quickly, I wanted to show the back of the book. This is another area that if a student becomes too distracted with having too much material in front of them, you can put your questions here and all your answers here. If you have like the 3 questions or just 2%, you can have them put what they believe is right here. Again, I made it where it is adaptable for student learning and for different learning levels. I wanted to make sure again to point out that I used this for the crunch 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 page. This was for when he was making tracks in the snow. They can use their finger, and then when you discover it's a stick, student can draw. When he was compounding his snowball together, and when he was engaging, well, not really engaging, but sadly came across a snow fight he could not be a part of. So these were the materials the items I used for helping to engage learning experience and keeping the student engaged in fun activities. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Again, I'm sorry I couldn't be in front of the camera. I am the only one that's recording this. So I wanted to make sure we focused on the material. Again, I did my adaptation on The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. And I hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time and making this. It took me a while, but I did learn a lot through this project. So again, thank you for the experience, and I hope that everybody has a good day.